In December of 1991, I picked up a copy of the Chronicle newspaper for some unknown reason, because it's certainly not a habit of mine. The newspaper had sponsored a writing competition among the students of Chatham High School. And in the Christmas pullout section, the top 3 entrants were printed. And when I read the first place finisher, I knew that I had a new and forever favorite Christmas story. I was totally blown away by the maturity of the writing and how a teenager took something as simple as homemade Christmas ornaments to deliver such a powerful message of self-acceptance, tolerance, and acceptance of others, messages that are so important and needed today. And I've shared this story as many times as I possibly could. So when Glenn asked me if I had a story to share this evening at the concert, I said, oh yeah. The Homemade Ornaments by Nicole Moranis. It was 5 o'clock in the morning on the day the family was to decorate the Christmas tree. From the far corner of the house, a furnace sputtered and growled before settling into a lazy hum that filled the house with warmth, despite the icy wisps of wind that whipped, banged, and tormented trees, leaves, windows, and shutters about the house. In the living room, the Christmas tree itself stood in majestic splendor amidst a carpet strewn with lights, tinsel, and boxes of multicolored ornaments. But in one of these boxes, the box of the homemade ornament settled under the protective shadow of the Christmas tree. There was a faint shuffling. "Hey, you guys!" the little red horse cried excitedly. "Get up! Get up! Today's the day they decorate the Christmas tree." Impatiently, the little red horse shook the blue elf that slept beside him. The elf awakened with a start, nearly dropping the sprig of holly he clasped in his hands and scattering the blue sequins that adorned his hat and vest everywhere. "Blue elf," whined the rather irritable pipe cleaner Candy Cane. "Cut it out," he demanded, picking sequins from his feet and angrily tossing them at the apologetic elf, who was hastily trying to press the sequins back onto his clothing. "Those sequins are driving me crazy. Can't you glue them back on?" "Do be quiet," said the upside-down paper cup Belle, who was now awake and once again rearranging the scraps of lace that were wound around her. "I could stand a little glue myself," she said, as a piece of red lace came off in her hand. "One of these days, I'm going to completely fall apart." From the far corner of the box, there was a grunt of agreement. The wooden soldier was wearily searching for his foot. "I can barely stay in one piece anymore." The pipe cleaner Candy Cane was not sympathetic. "Here's your foot," he barked, chucking a block of wood at the soldier. "Don't you think I'd get just a little tired of waking up every morning with one of your legs lying next to me?" "It's not his fault," came another voice. It was the old felt tree. "Some of us are a little older than you are. Speaking of which, can somebody give me a hand? I don't think I can get up this morning." The upside-down paper cup Belle rushed to his aid. He was old and faded, made of a worn green triangle of felt adorned with oddly cut circles of red and blue material. The boy had made him when he was 3 years old, many years before any of the other ornaments could remember. As the Belle lifted him to his feet, he sighed sadly. "I don't understand why they bother to put me on the Christmas tree anymore. I think I just make it look uglier." "Did I hear someone say ugly?" called the wax thing from his corner of the box that they all shared. "Please," he begged, "don't ever let me hear anyone use that word unless they're describing me." It was difficult to believe that the wax thing could possibly provide any attractive decorative element to the Christmas tree. He was a chunky, twisted, ear-like mass of a rather odd mix of orange and green wax, with dark green glitter clumped about him. Though no one could ever discern any recognizable shape from him, the mother continued year after year to hang him from quite visible branches of the Christmas tree, much to the confusion of the rest of the family, as well as to that of the wax thing, who was altogether quite frustrated by his appearance. Heaving a discouraged sigh, he scowled and plunked himself down on the floor of the box. "I don't know what we're all so depressed about," cried the little red horse cheerfully. "Today's the day they decorate the Christmas tree," he exclaimed joyfully. Despite their previous sorrow, the other homemade ornaments soon found themselves swept with excitement, and they became animated with excited anticipation of the day. Nearby, however, the store-bought silver balls were awakened by the noise mounting in the box of the homemade ornaments. "Why don't they shut up?" growled a particularly sour silver ornament. Angrily, he bounced out of his box and rolled over to the place where the homemade ornaments were. The little red horse poked his head out of the box. "What do you want?" he asked rather suspiciously. "Some sleep," hollered the little silver ball. "I don't see why you find it imperative to scream and carry on at 5:30 in the morning." The horse sighed in exasperation. "Don't you realize," he began with an air of importance, "that today is the day they decorate the Christmas tree?" The silver ball laughed scornfully. "I don't see why that makes you happy," he said. "Look at you all." He laughed with a gesture that swept over the homemade ornaments that had now all gathered by the horse. "You're all falling apart. Paper Cup Bell is a mess. The wooden soldier is missing an arm. That elf is missing most of his sequins. And what," he demanded, stopping before the wax thing, "are you supposed to be?" His words fell upon deadly silence, which was broken by his own cruel laugh. "I wouldn't put you on a Christmas tree in a million years. You'll only wreck it. I bet this year they throw you out." Chuckling maliciously, he rolled back to the other silver balls. The homemade ornaments looked at each other miserably. "He's right, you know," said the wooden soldier sadly. "They probably will throw us out this year." "Oh, I don't think so," said the bell, but even she could not hide the doubt that had crept into her voice. "They will," the wooden soldier insisted. "Look at all the other ornaments they have. Why would they keep us? We're ugly," he finished softly. The little red horse wiped a tear from his face with a tiny black hoof. "I'm afraid," he confessed. "I don't want to go into the garbage." The others gasped in horror at the idea. The old felt tree spoke up first. "We won't let them throw us away," he resolved confidently. "We'll hide." "But where?" whispered the wax thing. For the next several minutes, there was a great amount of whispering and scuffling, and then only silence remained in the space beneath the Christmas tree the box of homemade ornaments had occupied. The girl was the first one down the stairs. "Dad! Dad!" she screamed. "Get up! We have to decorate the Christmas tree today." There was an incoherent murmur from her father, who had been asleep. "Mom," she cried, come on, we have to do the tree today." With unsuppressible excitement, she skipped into the living room and danced among the ornaments. "It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas," she sang happily, pouring through multitudes of boxes of ornaments. Humming cheerfully, she checked to make sure they were all there. The bright red apples, the colored balls, the little candy canes. That's strange, she paused. I wonder what happened to the homemade ornaments. Just then the father wearily entered the room. What? He asked with a yawn. I don't know where the homemade ornaments went, the girl said. What do you mean? They were right here. He walked over to the empty space beneath the tree. Mom, do you know what happened to the box of the homemade ornaments? She hurried into the living room. Aren't they under the tree? When the boy entered the living room, he was confused to find his family searching about the floor. What are you looking for? All the homemade ornaments, they replied. Have you seen them? You lost them? He cried. Those were my favorites. No one lost them, said the mother, crawling out from underneath the piano. They should be here someplace. The girl sat dejectedly on the sofa. That box had the bell I made out of a paper cup in nursery school, she lamented. And the green felt tree I made when I was 3, the boy added. That's right, the mother recalled with a laugh. I remember how excited you were the day you brought that home. Somewhat sadly, the family sat remembering all of the homemade ornaments. The blue sequined elf the children's grandmother had made. The wooden soldier and the candy cane they made the year that there was no money to buy decorations. The tree will look so ugly without them, said the girl quietly. I know, but I guess we should start on the tree, said the boy, abandoning his search and picking up a box of silver Christmas balls. We can't, cried the girl. We have to find the homemade ones. She reached to grab the box from his hand, but instead knocked it to the floor. Silver ornaments flew everywhere. The boy looked at his sister in disgust and began to crawl under the sofa to retrieve one of the silver balls. Hey, you guys, he cried suddenly. I found them. Excitedly, the girl snatched the box from his hands and began to count to make sure that they were all there. Look, the mother smiled. Here's the one that one of my students made me years ago. She lifted the wax ornament from the box. The mother ran her fingers over the ornament. The girl who made this was blind. When she gave it to me, she told me she didn't know what it looked like, but that she thought it felt like Christmas. She handed it to her daughter, who closed her eyes and felt its surface. That's weird, she proclaimed delightedly. It kind of does. Dad, said the boy, cradling the felt tree in his hand, could we try and glue some of these back together? I want to make sure that they last for a long time. For the rest of the day, the family worked together, hanging and repairing ornaments, stringing lights and draping tinsel about the tree's branches. It was hours later that they stood before a glittering, magnificent tree. Wait a second, Dad, the boy said. We forgot these. He pointed to the silver balls that still lay scattered about the floor. One of them apparently had been stepped on. Forget them, the mother said. It's perfect, just the way it is. And when they left the room, the girl thought she saw the little red horse smile.